Hi everyone, this is Ted Butler here, speaking to you live from the Metals Investors Forum in Toronto. I'm speaking to you on behalf of Jeff Clark's Paid Up Prospector, and I'm very happy to have with me today the CEO of A2Gold Corp, Peter Gianulis. How are you doing?
Hi, hey, pleasure. How are you doing, Ted?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Peter, it's been a transformative few months for A2 and your flagship Eastside project in Nevada. And I'm definitely not just talking about your name change for Allegiant Gold either. And before we get into that, though, I would really appreciate, and I'm sure our viewers would appreciate too, a summary of your background.
Okay.
And I understand it involves some notable exits as well.
Sure. I mean, I started my career back in the mid-90s for Salomon Brothers, which was a well-known New York investment bank, one of the prime investment banks at that time. Started as an analyst in 96, joined their hedge fund in 1997, 1998, grew that to a large size. We went through a few mergers, first with Travelers and then later on with Citi.
Right.
We spun out of Citigroup at that time in 2004. I used that opportunity to start my own fund called the Carrollton Asset Management Fund, where we ended up focusing primarily on the junior mining and the junior resource sector.
Right.
We grew that to a very nice size, did that for about 12 years, then got on the management side of the business, joined a few boards, became an activist in the sector, and did that and have done that for the rest of presumably the last 10 years.
Right.
Got on the board of Allegiant Gold at that time in 2019, took over the company, and then we made the name change to A2Gold.
Right.
I mean, we've had a few in my career, had a few successful exits, which did very, very well.
Sure.
And I'm hopeful that we can do it again.
Yeah, and of course, it's not just financial expertise you've also got the mining background. We were just talking before about shared time in Latin America. Tell us maybe a bit more about the mining side of things, what you've learned. And
well, I mean, I think that jurisdiction is the single biggest issue. I've always said this. I've done this for almost 30 years now, and I've always looked at jurisdiction as the single biggest issue. Obviously, having a great deposit is very, very important.
Right.
I was early on in Frutos del Norte back in 2007 and 2008, so I've gotten to see a lot of great deposits throughout the region. I was, one of the main investors of Aurelia, and then that sold to Kinross. Also invested many other companies throughout the region. But, I come back to jurisdiction being the single biggest issue that's facing the world today as we've moved into a bipolar scenario from, a unipolar, which was the U.S. basically dominating everything since the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Sure.
I think we're going back now into a bifurcated world where you'll have the U.S.-led side, and then the rest of it led by the non-U.S. rather than, any disparaging what that other side is. But I think we're going to go into an area where Africa is going to be fought after, but it will clearly be in the Chinese and the Russian influence. South America is going to be fought over, but probably into the U.S. influence, and definitely North America, Canada, and the U.S. will be into that same type of jurisdiction.
Well, it's resource wars, right? And gold is at the heart of it, and at $5,000 an ounce, that really benefits you. And let's come back to that jurisdiction thing. So you're right in that Walker Lane trend. You are in Nevada, which is a very pro-mining jurisdiction globally, very stable. Tell us about what you do in there, and perhaps you can talk about that plans you've got for that 30,000-meter drill program.
Sure. I mean, we have two main projects in the Walker Lane trend. We have Eastside, which is our flagship project, and that has approximately 1.5 million ounces of gold, 9 million ounces of silver in inferred category. We have just initiated a 30,000-meter drill program there with the goal of expanding that resource beyond that 1.5 million and 9 million ounce. We think we have a great opportunity. We've only explored about 18% of the property, so it's a very large project right outside the town of Tonopah, in a great jurisdiction, great infrastructure, right on the highway.
Right.
We have water wells, we have electricity that runs through our property. So all the major components to build a mine are there.
Right.
And we have really haven't advanced the project as fast as we'd like to, because we were in the midst of a bear market for most of my 6 years that I've been the CEO. We're coming out of this bear market. We've now well-financed with, close to $15 million in the bank.
Yeah.
We started a 30,000-meter drill program. We just started that about a month ago. We're probably, 7 or 8 holes into this program right now. So results will start coming out in the next month. Very, very excited about finally getting in there and properly drilling out East Side, which has never been done, at least since I've been the CEO.
Right.
And, there's three main goals of this drill program. First is to expand the resource, the known resource. The second is, and that's done two ways. One is through infill drilling, and then the second is through step-out drilling. And the third thing, which I think is something we haven't done historically, is explore the other 80% of the property that we don't have. So we conducted a project-wide geophysics program, numerous geophysics programs throughout the property to get a great understanding of some of the targets. We now have a good understanding of the targets. And so this 30,000 meter drill program will drill out probably about 18,000. This meter will be dedicated to the exploration side. And on the team side, we've been building our team. I mean, we've hired two main individuals to help the program. So John Marma, who just joined us as VP of Exploration about a month and a half ago, he comes to us from White Pine. He was referred to us by our partner Kinross. We can talk about our investors as well. And then we just brought in Gabe Casos, who's now our head geologist. And we still have the same individuals on our team, like Andy Wallace, who's a senior geologist and one of the founders of the company, as well as Pete Chap and then John Vincent. So our team is getting bigger.
Sure.
And at the right time, we're well financed and we're becoming far more aggressive than we have been in the past.
For sure. And how long is that drill program going to run for?
My guess is it's going to rest for most of the year.
Okay.
And so I think at the bare minimum, 6 to 9 months, but depending on the results we may add to it, we're well financed to be able to add to it without having to raise additional capital.
Yeah, and how much cash do you have on the balance sheet after that?
I think, we just exercised some of the warrants, and so roughly 15 million Canadian is on the balance sheet right now.
Okay, and you just did that recent financing with Kinross, Eric Sprott.
Correct.
And that was 10.5 million, right?
Correct. So there was 10.5 million was our last finance. It came with a series of warrants that were attached. We just accelerated those warrants. We got roughly another 6 million in Canadian dollars into the balance sheet. So the 10.5 plus 6, but plus what we've spent already. So we're roughly sitting at about 15 million.
Right.
And this recent financing brought in the likes of the Callow Group, brought in Kirk Sprott, Kinross doubled down. This is the second.
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us about, because they're a very strategic shareholder, right? It's amazing to have them on board. What do they bring to the table?
I mean, it's not a typical relationship that you have with a strategic investing and their passive investors. I wouldn't characterize Kinross' participation as passive. They sit on a technical committee meeting with us, and we host that every quarter. But beyond that, we speak to them quite frequently at the corporate level and as well as at the technical level in Nevada. Our relationship is very, very strong, and I think that they contribute far beyond just the capital. I mean, yes, they have the capital, but they're also very much involved in what we're doing on a daily basis.
Right. So quality backers, high grade, safe jurisdiction. You mentioned infrastructure.
Yeah.
I'd like you to tell us a bit about that, because I know you've got water, power, nearby highway access, you mentioned.
All of the above, and you're sitting right outside of the town of Tonopah. You're 3 hours from Las Vegas. You're 3 hours from Reno. You're in the middle between Reno and Las Vegas.
Right.
So it's very easy to get to. You fly into Las Vegas, you drive 3 hours, you stay in Tonopah if you like, or you go back to Vegas that day. We're on a main highway, and the access to our property is about 15 to 20 minutes from the town of Tonopah. So,
right. Amazing.
Couldn't get any better.
And actually, it's kind of suited for heap leaching as well.
Correct. The project is the conceptual design of the project would be an open pit heap leach project. And there's really two main mineralized areas today, one in the north, which we call the McIntosh Zone, and one in the south, which is called the Castle.
Right.
That combined gives us that roughly 1.5 million ounces of gold and 9 million ounces of silver. I think the real change, besides our balance sheets, that silver is now trading at $90 an ounce.
Right.
And this doesn't apply to us. It applies to any heap leach project in Nevada that has silver. I mean, and there's a lot of factors such as strip ratio and grade and recoveries and metallurgy, but I mean, it's conceivable that silver will cover the entire cost of the mining and the processing, just the recovery of that, so your gold comes up for free. Sure. I mean, we've looked at it at the Castle, which is the at surface low strip part of the heap leach, and in our project, and it's conceptual, but, there is a path for a zero cost gold production there, right? Because silver carries would conceivably, conceptually would cover the cost of the mine.
For sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, Peter, I think that's going to be it for today.
Oh,
but an amazing story. Like I say, strong jurisdiction, high grade, amazing catalyst this year in the form of lots of drill results all throughout the year.
Strong balance sheet.
And all the best for it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Ted. Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care.